Chapter 297. With a flash of silver light, the three immortal ascension boundary masters who had just forced Yang Kai into a dead end fell into a pool of their own blood, unable to put up any resistance, and were killed in a daze. The momentum of the silver light did not diminish as it continued to chase after Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman. At this critical moment of life and death, Qiu Yimeng's delicate earrings emitted a faint light which rushed into her mind, instantly waking her up. In a flash, Qiu Yimeng quickly took out her ancient shield and placed it in front of her. With a ding sound, Qiu Yimeng coughed up a mouthful of blood and was sent flying, finally stopping the silver light. The woman's brow furrowed as her tender body trembled, blood dripping from her red lips. It seemed that just touching her yuan qi had caused her to feel even more unbearable. Not continuing to attack, she hurriedly picked up Yang Kai, who was tied up by the ribbon, and leapt away, seemingly unable to wait any longer. Luo Xiaoman's face was flushed red, her pair of beautiful eyes blurred, her throat constantly emitting soft moans as her two beautiful legs were tightly clamped together. The boundless pleasure spread like an electric current, numbing her lower body, causing her tender body to tremble involuntarily as a pool of white liquid rolled out from her lower abdomen, soaking her underwear. A high-pitched, stifled moan escaped from her mouth as Luo Xiaoman's body softened and she fell directly to the ground, her cheeks flushed red as she gasped for breath, her chest heaving up and down as she basked in the aftershocks of her orgasm. "Xiaoman, cough cough." Qiu Yimeng called out weakly. Luo Xiaoman suddenly recovered and realized that she had lost control of herself and that her lower body was wet. Immediately, her beautiful face paled in shock. She didn't know what had happened. Just now, the woman in red had only said a few words, and she had fallen into a dreamy and charming illusion. In that illusion, she had abandoned her self-esteem and shyness, as if she had become a resentful woman who was unsatisfied with her desires, constantly demanding. She had an extremely unbridled instinct. And the object of that demand was actually Yang Kai, the man they had chased all the way here. Recalling the scene just now, Luo Xiaoman was filled with shame and resentment. Her pair of beautiful eyes trembled. Very quickly, boundless hatred and humiliation flashed across them. "Xiaoman, come and give me a hand." Qiu Yimeng's yuan qi tumbled as her blood flowed in reverse. Unable to move at all, seeing Luo Xiaoman still frozen in place, he couldn't help calling out again. "Oh!" Luo Xiaoman staggered to her feet, the wind blowing over her lower body causing her to feel a slight tingling sensation, causing her to tremble slightly. "What's wrong with you?" Qiu Yimeng looked at her suspiciously, seemingly feeling that something was wrong with her. "No. Nothing." Luo Xiaoman hurriedly replied, blushing as she hurried over to Qiu Yimeng and took out a bottle of pills from her sleeve. He poured one out and put it in her mouth. Staring at the corpses of the three immortal ascension boundary masters in front of her, Luo Xiaoman couldn't help feeling a bit of fear. After a long time, Qiu Yimeng let out a long breath. "Elder sister Qiu, who is that woman?" Luo Xiaoman asked as she sat on the ground, hugging her knees. She asked with some lingering fear. Qiu Yimeng slowly shook her head. "I don't know, but no matter who she is definitely a dragon lady. Next time we meet her, we must be careful." "Oh." Luo Xiaoman responded somewhat guiltily. A simple sentence was enough to turn an innocent young girl into a resentful woman. Obviously, that woman had cultivated some kind of extraordinary seductive technique. How good could a woman who cultivated such a technique be? Not long after, the dozen or so yuan qi masters who had been scattered around finally arrived. They had all heard the sound of fighting and had come over. Bai Yunfeng was also among them. This little brat's luck was pretty good. Not only had he not died in the collapsed void corridor, he had also not been involved in the battle just now, so he was lucky enough to survive. As soon as the two sides met up and learned about each other's situation, Qiu Yimeng's heart sank. There were less than 10 people left on her side, and all three of her immortal ascension boundary masters had been killed. "Let's see what this place is first, then we'll decide what to do next," Qiu Yimeng calmly ordered. High up in the air, a red shadow flashed by. It was the enchanting woman from just now. Her strength was indeed very strong, and her flying speed was as fast as the wind. Yang Kai was bound by a pink ribbon, unable to exert any strength and could only passively allow himself to be carried by her hand. Just out of the tiger's den and into the wolf's den, Yang Kai thought to himself. This woman didn't even bat an eyelid when she killed those people, not even asking for a reason. Clearly, she wasn't an easy person to deal with, so why did she want to kidnap him? Yang Kai was puzzled. Secretly circulating his Yuan Qi, Yang Kai found that he couldn't use his Yuan Qi at all, only his divine sense could be used. However, in front of such a master, how could Yang Kai dare to release his divine sense so easily? Don't waste your energy. After being hit by my soul-blowing incense, you'll only feel powerless. Your Yuan Qi will be sealed, unless your strength is higher than mine. The woman's soft voice came from above his head, causing Yang Kai's heart to skip a beat. Soul-blowing incense? Yang Kai grinned. What a good name. Why does this name sound like an aphrodisiac? Yang Kai cursed in his heart. Sure enough, this woman was a wanton dragon lady. Just now, her face clearly showed a hint of lust, as if it was surging. Now that he had fallen into her hands, he didn't know whether or not his Yuan Qi would be sucked dry and he would die of dehydration. Yang Kai instinctively felt that this woman should have cultivated some kind of evil secret art that harvested yang to supplement her yin. If he really died like this, it would be too tragic. You don't know what soul-blowing incense is? The woman was slightly surprised. Should I know? Yang Kai didn't answer but instead asked, immediately taking a deep breath and suppressing the roiling blood in his heart. Forget it, you'd better not talk to me first, I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself and will take you. The woman was originally enduring with great difficulty, but when she heard Yang Kai's shameless and presumptuous words, she couldn't help giggling. Her beautiful eyes glanced down, thinking to herself, this little brat actually doesn't know what soul-blowing incense is he not a disciple of the Holy Land? As she glanced down, she saw Yang Kai also looking up at her. The woman smiled sweetly, her blushing cheeks incomparably alluring. Yang Kai's gaze involuntarily shifted, just in time to catch a glimpse of the enchanting scenery under this woman's skirt. His heart beat even more fiercely. This woman's underwear was actually a pair of hollowed-out black-laced panties, and the fragrant grass below her was faintly discernible through the hollowed-out area. It was incomparably beautiful, and her two slender legs were like fine jade, pure white and flawless, glowing with an alluring luster like porcelain. These two beautiful legs didn't seem to belong to this world, they were like the spirit of heaven and earth, drawing out the most primitive instincts in Yang Kai's heart, causing his eyes to instantly fill with confusion and emptiness as he panted heavily. Not knowing where he got the strength from, Yang Kai actually reached out a hand and directly touched the woman's calf, rubbing and playing with it for a while. The woman felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She was already enduring with great difficulty, so when Yang Kai touched her so intimately, her beautiful face suddenly changed, and the blush on her cheeks became even more alluring. She couldn't help but let out a groan as her delicate body trembled like a quail in winter. Smelly brat! The woman was flustered and exasperated, gritting her teeth as she cursed. Although she knew that Yang Kai's offensive actions weren't his own intention and that she had a large part to play, this kind of touching and pinching still made her somewhat uncomfortable. Wherever his rough hands touched, it seemed to produce an electric current, causing the woman to feel a burst of paralysis. Even though she was an immortal ascension boundary master, she was no longer able to fly steadily. Dragging Yang Kai along, he staggered through the air as if he was drunk. Let go! The woman gritted her teeth, lifting one of her jade feet and kicking Yang Kai's shoulder, then pulling the ribbon in her hand, she directly pulled Yang Kai to her side. Yang Kai's dazed eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of madness and cunning, grinning towards her. He used all his strength to reach out and embrace her slender waist. The woman's face paled, as if she hadn't expected that Yang Kai would still be able to maintain his sanity. Kai Yang was completely unrestrained, his two hands firmly gripping the woman's tender waist. A soft and fragrant feeling spread through his body. This woman's waist really didn't seem to have any bones, it was extremely flexible to the touch, If he used just a little bit of strength, he would be able to break it. His 10 fingers flicked up and down, doing everything possible to tease and caress her, his big mouth not holding back at all, directly biting down on the left side of the woman's full red dress. This bite didn't have the slightest yuan qi. Yang Kai didn't even use much strength, but it was still a deadly attack. The hot male breath penetrated her clothes and scalded the woman's tender body, causing her to go completely limp and tremble. The biting seemed to turn into a sucking action. The woman's yuan qi was unable to circulate properly, and both she and Yang Kai fell to the ground. "Let go of me." The woman clenched her teeth and cried out, resisting the throbbing and stupidity in her heart. Her bright red lips were almost bitten through, her hands holding Yang Kai's head, wanting to push him away, but the numbness attacked her, causing her to be unable to use much strength, but this position made her even more fanciful. "I won't let go." Yang Kai's mouth was chewing on a small red bead, constantly blowing hot air into it, his tongue like a snake as he vaguely answered. This dragon lady's current state was not right, as if she had been drugged with the most overbearing aphrodisiac in the world. Even the slightest touch and caress could make her unable to control herself. Her strength was too high, and there was no way to match it. If he wanted to live from her hands, Yang Kai could only use this kind of dirty method. "Do you want to die? If you don't let go, both of us will die an unnatural death." The woman lightly trembled and moaned. The two were getting closer and closer to the ground. Falling from a height of 300 meters, no matter how strong the woman was, she would still be smashed into a pile of meat paste. "Hee, if I die under a peony, I'll still be a romantic ghost." Yang Kai recklessly teased, not caring about life and death at all. The woman's expression finally changed, and she secretly cursed this stinking brat for being shameless. She took a deep breath, resisting the discomfort in her body and the impulse in her heart, and secretly condensed her yuan qi, abruptly slowing down her falling momentum. But this yuan qi was quickly dispersed by the impact of the sensations in her body. With a bang, Yang Kai and the woman fell to the ground. The two were entangled in each other's arms, rolling several times before gradually coming to a stop. Chapter 298. Fortunately, the falling speed was reduced a lot, so even though they were in a sorry state, neither of them was injured. But after this struggle and resistance, Yang Kai's strength increased a lot. In the midst of the flying dust, he recklessly pressed the woman under his body and reached out a hand to cover the other full breast. He accurately found the protruding cherry and wantonly kneaded it. The red clothes were a little messy, and the woman's chest revealed a breathtaking snowy white. The two large breasts trembled as if they were about to break free from their restraints and burst out of the clothes. The elasticity was also amazing. Under the two-pronged attack, the woman seemed to have completely lost the strength to resist. Her beautiful eyes were closed, and her long eyelashes kept trembling. Her soft and delicate body twisted under Yang Kai, and there was a burst of suppressed longing in her throat. She seemed to have accepted her fate and no longer resisted. Her hands gently held Yang Kai's head and pulled him up from her chest. Then her cheeks flushed red and she pressed a pair of red lips on his. Yang Kai was secretly wary of her soul-blowing incense, but he didn't expect her to be so cooperative. He was no longer polite and kissed her. A sweet and wonderful taste spread on the tip of his tongue. Just as he tasted something wonderful, the woman suddenly opened her beautiful eyes, and there was a hint of slyness and pleasure in them. Feeling that something was wrong, Yang Kai quickly raised his head. Just as he spat out a word, Yang Kai felt the world in front of him turn upside down. In an instant, he lost all consciousness and fell on the woman's chest. The woman kept gasping for breath, calming the rolling blood in her heart. After a while, she recovered some strength. She reached out and pushed Yang Kai away from her delicate body. She slowly sat up, clenching her teeth, and her heart was filled with hatred. After a while, suddenly she laughed again, pursing her red lips, and said to herself, "Stinky brat is very skilled, he's definitely not a good thing. Humph, this king's beauty is not something that just anyone can taste." Saying that, she stood up and tidied her clothes. She looked at the unconscious Yang Kai on the ground with hatred and lifted him up with one hand. She jumped up again. Yang Kai woke up groggily. He only felt pain all over his body, as if he had been pricked by needles. There was not much light in the surroundings, only a torch stuck diagonally into a mountain wall, the flame flickering. A delicate fragrance, like orchids and musk, lingered at the tip of his nose. This fragrance was somewhat familiar. It was the smell of the flirtatious woman from before. He didn't know if it was her body fragrance or something else. It was neither too thick nor too light, and it was a pleasant smell. It also had some aphrodisiac effects. Thinking of the dragon lady, Yang Kai suddenly sobered up and vigilantly looked forward. He saw that woman sitting cross-legged not far from him. His yuan qi surged fiercely and his eyes were closed. It was unknown what kind of martial art he was using. Sensing the current state of his body, Yang Kai's expression darkened. Yuan qi had recovered a lot of her strength, and she could also swim. But at this moment his entire body was imprisoned in place by a mysterious force, and he couldn't move at all. Moreover, he seemed to have been poisoned. When he used his yuan qi, he felt a little dizzy. Yang Kai panicked and quickly calmed down, not daring to move. This should be a cave. The cave was not deep, only about 100 feet or so. He was sitting cross-legged in the innermost part of the cave, and the woman not far from him was blocking his way, clearly not wanting to let him leave. Looking at this woman, Yang Kai had to admit that she was extremely beautiful and charming to the bone. Every part of her body seemed to be made for flirtatious beauty, especially the mole under the corner of her eye, which made her look extremely charming. Seemingly aware of Yang Kai's presumptuous gaze, the woman slightly opened her eyes. Her beautiful eyes were blurred, containing a touch of lust, watery and seductive. Her cheeks were still red, and the breath she exhaled was boiling hot. "You're awake." The woman showed a beautiful smile, and looked at Yang Kai with interest. "Hee, what is the meaning of this, elder sister?" Yang Kai looked at her indifferently and chuckled. "It's fine if you imprison me, but why are you blocking my way?" The woman smiled and said, "If I don't block you, what if you run away?" Yang Kai said shyly, "Why would I run away? The night is dark, and this little brother doesn't want to leave elder sister alone. In fact, elder sister doesn't need to do this. You only need to say one word, and this little brother is willing to go through water and tread on fire for you, even if it means death." The woman glanced at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. Recalling how he had taken advantage of her, her body suddenly went limp, and she couldn't help gritting her teeth in anger. Yang Kai's eyes were burning hot, licking his dry lips as he wantonly wandered around the woman's body, his eyes full of incomparable aggression, as if he wanted to strip her naked, whispering in a low voice, "Actually, I won't hide it from elder sister. This little brother feels like an old friend at first sight. So why don't elder sister let go of me so we can talk? I really like elder sister. This heart of mine can be seen by the heavens, the sun and the moon." The woman couldn't help giggling, her body shaking as she cursed this little brat in her heart, but her white neck was slightly red. Seeing that she wasn't angry at all, Yang Kai's courage grew a lot. In any case, things had already come to this, and this woman's strength was too high for him to escape. So he might as well see what she wanted to do first. If she really wanted to kill him, there was no need for her to hold back until now. The woman slowly restrained her smile, her small white hand covering her red lips, and with a seductive look, she whispered, "If you like me, then why did you use such a heavy hand just now? Are you that willing? What if you hurt me?" Seductress. Yang Kai cursed in his heart, almost losing his mind once again. Quickly stabilizing his mind, he chuckled. As the saying goes, the first time you're unfamiliar with the road, the second time you're familiar with the road. This little brother is inexperienced and doesn't know how to please elder sister, so I was indeed a bit abrupt. But now that I have experience, I don't know if elder sister is interested in giving it another try. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. Little rogue. The woman bit her teeth and softly cursed, her eyes blurred. Yang Kai's face was the thickest she had ever seen in her life. His ability to lie with a straight face was top-notch. His skillful flirting, how could he be considered inexperienced? He was clearly a veteran in the field of love. She didn't know how many girls he had ruined. Although she could be considered a cheerful woman, Yang Kai's blatant flirting still made her a little shy, not to mention, her body wasn't in good condition right now, so she couldn't bear to hear such words from others. Just as her heart was filled with hatred, she saw Yang Kai's face turn serious and ask, "Is elder sister under the influence of an aphrodisiac?" Her state was clearly one of lust, wanting to find a man to relieve her feelings, but being able to endure for so long, Yang Kai was puzzled. The woman was slightly stunned, her expression somewhat unnatural, but she forced a smile and said, "You can say so, but you can also say no. Then is it true or not?" Yang Kai was confused. "Let's just say it is, but this aphrodisiac is because of me." The woman looked at Yang Kai with a smile, not intending to hide it. "It's because my secret art is about to break through. Every time I break through, it's like this, but this time I was ambushed on the way here and suffered some injuries, so it's more violent than before. I don't know if I can resist. So you captured me?" Yang Kai suddenly realized. But in his heart, a storm was set off. What kind of secret art would cause a woman to feel lust when breaking through? An evil secret art. An absolutely evil secret art. It was most likely a secret art that harvested yang to supplement yin. Yang Kai felt a chill in his heart. If he was really harvested by this dragon lady here, then his life would be too sad. "I was just in case." The woman nodded slightly, not denying it. Yang Kai was imprisoned at this moment, so he couldn't do anything, so she had no reason to lie. "Then why did you find me? Besides you, there were only 3 old men and 2 women. If I didn't catch you, who would I catch?" The woman replied with a faint smile. "Damn, so unlucky. Why didn't that brat by Yunfeng follow me? If he had followed me, I might not have been caught. To be able to work for Big Sister, it's little brother's honor." Yang Kai smiled, looking at her affectionately. "Why don't you stop resisting? Let's rest early. Every moment is worth 1,000 gold. The woman covered her mouth and laughed, saying angrily, "You wish. The secret art I'm practicing is special, although I can continue to practice it after losing my virginity, but before I reach large success, my cultivation speed will be greatly reduced. I'm only 1 step away. How can I waste all my efforts here?" Yang Kai's eyes sparkled, flashing with light. "So Big Sister is flawless. Good, good, good. This little brother is also a virgin. We're a match made in heaven. You don't have to resist so hard. If you really can't resist, just come find me." His heart was beating like a drum, although he didn't know what the consequences would be if this woman took him, but seeing how evil her secret art was, the consequences would definitely not be good. So even in front of such a beauty, Yang Kai didn't dare to have the slightest bit of restlessness. The woman stared deeply at him, a trace of pity flashed through her blurred eyes, and asked in a trembling voice, "What's your name?" "Yang Kai." "Yang Kai." The woman lowered her eyes and whispered softly, then nodded seriously, "I'll remember this name. I'm Xianxia Luo." "That's a nice name." Yang Kai couldn't help but frown. This name, why does it seem like I've heard someone say it before? But this woman's strength was very high. She should be a famous expert. It's normal to have heard of her name, so Yang Kai didn't think too much about it. "I didn't imprison your yuan qi. You have to guard your mind. Don't lose your mind." Xianxia Luo reminded with a smile, "Your mind is good, but I don't know if you can resist the next temptation. Also, you better pray that I can resist it successfully." Yang Kai had a bad premonition in his heart. "Hee hee." Xianxia Luo chuckled but didn't answer. Her watery eyes stared at Yang Kai for a while, then said, "You're quite handsome, although you're full of nonsense and shameless. This isn't your nature, so Big Sister still likes you." As she spoke, her face turned red, and without giving Yang Kai time to react, she suddenly closed her eyes, her yuan qi surging again. Chapter 299. Yang Kai pursed his lips, secretly paying attention to the changes on Xianxia Luo's side, his heart also extremely vigilant. From her words, it was not difficult for Yang Kai to infer that this was a critical moment for her, and also a critical moment for him. She had captured him just in case. Once she could not resist the temptation of a breakthrough in her cultivation, he would definitely be taken by her. As for the result, even if he used his toes to think, he would know that it would not be good, otherwise why would she be so serious about warning him? Yang Kai's face was gloomy as he considered the way out. Looking up, Yang Kai saw that the true qi in Xianxia Luo's tender body was surging as streams of energy visible to the naked eye gushed out from her body. As soon as these streams of true qi came into contact with the surrounding air, they seemed to undergo some kind of incredible transformation, transforming into crystal-clear white threads that shot out from her body. These silk threads were thousands of strands, scattered around Xianxia Luo's body, wrapping her up. As time passed, these silk threads became more and more numerous, more and more dense. Yang Kai's eyebrows jumped as he watched. These silk threads felt like spider silk, but also like silk. Each strand was full of elasticity and toughness. Each strand contained a surging energy. In less than half an hour, Xianxia Luo's entire body was wrapped up by these silk threads, her seductive peerless face disappeared, and her graceful body was also hidden in the silk threads. All Yang Kai could see was a pure white oval like a silkworm cocoon. It also seemed like a tent, enveloping Xianxia Luo. Her beautiful body was reflected in this oval silkworm cocoon, hazy, making people unable to see through it. A faint fragrance slowly spread in the cave. As the fragrance entered his nostrils, Yang Kai's heartbeat slowly sped up, his blood slowly boiled, and his breathing gradually became heavy. The fragrance emitted from Xianxia Luo's body was the purest aphrodisiac. He felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly circulated the true Yang secret art, guarding his mind. The more he resisted, the more difficult it became. While he was working extremely hard, waves of stifled moans and murmurs came from the Xianxia Luo. When the voice entered his ears, Yang Kai's eyes instantly turned blank. The scene around him changed. The dark cave was gone, the dancing flames were gone, and the sparkling white silkworm cocoon and the Xianxia Luo inside were also gone without a trace. The place where he was standing suddenly became filled with a fragrant scent. In a room filled with flying petals. The ground beneath his feet was also covered with a layer of luxurious red carpet. A burst of giggles sounded in his ears. He looked around and saw that he was surrounded by more than a dozen scantily clad young girls. These young girls only covered their most important parts with some thin gauze, faintly revealing their delicate and beautiful features. Decadent voices rang out, and the dozen or so girls all smiled at Yang Kai. They danced and sang around him. These young girls were thin and round with different body shapes, but no matter which one of them was beautiful, pure and clean, shy and shy, bold and hot, charming and moving, elegant and quiet, the young girls danced around Yang Kai while looking at him affectionately. Their instinct to please him was to show their most moving side. Stifled moans came from their throats, and their red lips squirmed, exuding infinite desire. Yang Kai's breathing suddenly became rapid. This erotic and obscene scene seemed to be able to dig out the deepest part of a person's heart, turning a person into a beast that had lost its mind. A low growl came from his throat. Yang Kai recklessly grabbed a girl beside him and threw her to the ground while she screamed. The girl's beautiful eyebrows slightly wrinkled, and she resisted the pain, but still looked at Yang Kai tenderly and sweetly. Murmuring moans came out of her mouth, and she stretched out two pink and soft hands to wrap around Yang Kai's neck. Yang Kai grinned at her. With a struggling expression, he punched her in the head. With one punch, more than a dozen girls around him disappeared. Yang Kai's clothes were instantly soaked with sweat, and he couldn't help but feel cold in his heart. This kind of beautiful illusion was really a test of a person's mind. Fortunately, although Yang Kai was also affected, he was able to sober up for a moment at the critical moment. Yang Kai thought that he had broken through this illusion, but when he stood up again, he found that the scene before him hadn't changed. Although the dozen young girls had disappeared, there was a bed with a curtain hanging in the middle of the hall. On the bed, a woman with a plump figure lazily reclined, one hand supporting her head, and just happened to look at him with a smile. Through the hazy curtain, Kai Yang could see that she was only wearing a thin silk gauze, like a cicada's wing. A chuckle came from the other side, and the woman on the bed gently waved at Yang Kai. Her whispers contained endless magic, and Yang Kai's recovered consciousness was once again pulled back into the swamp. With scarlet eyes and heavy breathing, he walked to the side of the bed and rudely tore open the pink curtain. What he saw was Xianxia Luo lying on the bed. This dragon lady had a plump figure, her skin was crystal clear, snow-white, and flawless. Her curves were exquisite, and her plump buttocks were high. Half of her hair covered it, outlining the perfect lines, making people's blood boil. She chuckled and slowly got up, her eyes filled with flirtatious feelings. She pulled Yang Kai to the bed and slowly put him down. Yang Kai didn't respond, letting her do as she pleased. Xianxia Luo's eyes were filled with tenderness. She knelt on Yang Kai's body and slowly took off his clothes. Her face was flushed, and she seemed to be both shy and eager. After taking off his clothes, Xianxia Luo breathed like orchids. She bit her red lips, slightly swayed her buttocks, and sat down little by little. A soft and moist feeling came, and Yang Kai's eyes suddenly trembled. The art of yin-yang union of joy involuntarily operated, and a fierce suction suddenly came from his crotch. Xianxia Luo, who was sitting on top of him, let out an extremely mournful scream, and all the illusions collapsed in an instant. Suddenly opening his eyes, Yang Kai sat in the same place, sweating profusely and gasping for breath. Looking up, he saw that not far away, Xianxia Luo was still in the pure white silkworm cocoon. He didn't know how much time had passed outside, but the art of yin-yang union of joy was still operating, and a huge amount of pure energy was pouring out of the pure white silkworm cocoon into Yang Kai's meridians. The dragon head under his crotch was high, showing a very powerful appearance. Yang Kai took a few deep breaths, slowly calming down his churning blood. He didn't know why the illusions suddenly collapsed, but he was sure that all of this was related to the art of yin-yang union of joy. The art of yin-yang union of joy was a dual cultivation technique and should be able to restrain Xianxia Luo's art of yin-yang union of joy, so he could smoothly escape from the illusions. After trying, he found that he still couldn't move and couldn't help but secretly hate. But he wasn't anxious. Xianxia Luo, this dragon lady, seemed to be ruthless, but in fact, she wasn't difficult to get along with. Moreover, she didn't want to kill him. After he calmed down, Yang Kai simply ignored her. He wholeheartedly operated the art of yin-yang union of joy. Under the guidance of the art of yin-yang union of joy, a stream of energy was separated from Xianxia Luo's white silkworm cocoon and poured into Yang Kai's meridians and dantian. Gradually, Yang Kai suddenly felt that he seemed to have a subtle relationship with Xianxia Luo inside the silkworm cocoon. As time passed, this feeling became stronger and stronger. Suddenly, a cry of alarm was heard. Yang Kai quickly opened his eyes and saw Xianxia Luo staring at him with a pair of charming eyes. Huh! Yang Kai couldn't help but be stunned. How did you get in? Xianxia Luo's small mouth slightly opened. What? Yang Kai frowned, suspiciously looking around. He didn't know when, but he was sitting opposite Xianxia Luo, in the middle of a vast ocean. No, this is my divine sense, you've entered my knowledge sea. Xianxia Luo exclaimed. Her charming face was filled with shock. How did you break into my sea of consciousness? I don't know. Yang Kai shook his head and looked down. Sure enough, he found that he didn't have a body, but his divine sense had inadvertently broken into the other party's knowledge sea. Curiously looking at the vast ocean below, it seemed that the sea here contained a very powerful destructive force. Yang Kai couldn't help but wonder, this is your knowledge sea, get out. Xianxia Luo hurriedly shouted. In a person's knowledge sea, it hid all the secrets of that person. Once the knowledge sea was spied on, that person's secrets would be exposed. Therefore, everyone would protect their sea of consciousness very well. Moreover, it was not so simple to break into someone's knowledge sea. Not to mention some defensive soul-type artifacts, there were also some special soul skills. These could prevent others from using their divine sense. How could a master like Xianxia Luo not have a soul-type artifact? How could she not cultivate a defensive soul skill? However, Yang Kai had still quietly invaded her knowledge sea. Shocked, seeing Yang Kai still stay in her knowledge sea, looking around, she couldn't help feeling anxious and angry, gnashing her teeth and saying, "If you don't leave, I'll make you stay here forever." Yang Kai was startled and quickly said, "Don't, I'll leave now. I haven't seen what a knowledge sea looks like, I'm just looking." Saying so, he quickly left. When Yang Kai's divine sense left, Xianxia Luo couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Only the heavens knew how dangerous it was just now. If he had really seen all her secrets, she would have been completely naked in front of him. This was a person's most private place. Not only that, but if their divine senses had intersected, it would have been very troublesome. Unlike physical contact, divine sense fusion was even more erosive, making people forget to return. It was a taste that was thousands of times more pleasurable than physical contact. Once you tried it, you would become addicted and would never be able to give up. Xianxia Luo was really afraid that Yang Kai had some perverted thoughts and wanted to have a soul intercourse with her. Fortunately, he was tactful and didn't go too far. What was going on with him? Although Xianxia Luo had a lot of questions in her heart, now was the time for her to break through, so naturally she didn't dare to take it lightly. She could only suppress her doubts and concentrate on circulating her secret art. Yang Kai was also circulating his joyous unification art. A clear energy flowed out from the white silkworm cocoon and into his meridians, becoming stronger little by little. As if peeling silk from a cocoon, Xianxia Luo's silkworm cocoon gradually became smaller, and her plump body slowly became visible. Chapter 300. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Yang Kai slowly opened his eyes and moved his stiff body slightly. A burst of popping sounds came from all parts of his body. His entire body seemed to contain an endless amount of energy. The Yuan Qi in his body surged, and he was in a wonderful state like never before. Yuan Qi level 4. These 10 days of meditation, plus the pure energy he obtained from Xianxia Luo's pure white silkworm cocoon, allowed him to break through to this level in one fell swoop. His harvest was huge. Opposite him, 2 pairs of eyes looked over. Yang Kai looked up and saw the dragon lady lazily leaning against the cave wall. Her pair of beautiful eyes looked at him with a complicated expression. Yang Kai was shocked. The Yuan Qi in his body involuntarily circulated. Xianxia Luo smiled and bit her red lips. "If I wanted to kill you, I would have done it long ago. Even if you had several lives, it wouldn't be enough to keep you alive." Yang Kai's expression became awkward. He thought that this was indeed the case. Immediately, his expression relaxed. He laughed and cupped his hands. "Thank you, sister, for not killing me." Xianxia Luo shook her head. "I didn't want to kill you. I had no choice but to kidnap you." As she spoke, she couldn't help but cough lightly. Her face was slightly pale. "What's wrong with you?" Yang Kai frowned and looked at her. This dragon lady's aura was much weaker than before. Moreover, she seemed to be injured. "Isn't it all because of you?" Xianxia Luo bit her teeth lightly. Her pair of red phoenix eyes revealed a miserable expression. "Me?" Yang Kai pointed at himself with a confused expression. He didn't understand. "What did you do to me?" "I didn't do anything," Kai Yang replied in a daze. "Then why did you take away so much of my energy?" Xianxia Luo gritted her teeth hatefully. Yang Kai's expression froze as he recalled what had happened before. He frowned and said, "I fell into an illusion and slept with you on the same bed. Then, I used a set of cultivation methods and escaped from the illusion." Xianxia Luo blushed. She looked at him in disbelief. "With me?" "Yes, you're very proactive and bold." Yang Kai nodded fiercely. Recalling the Xianxia Luo's performance on the bed, he couldn't help but feel his blood boil. "What a pity." Yang Kai sighed, somewhat vexed. "Little bastard." Xianxia Luo spat softly, her face flushed red. "Does it affect you?" Yang Kai frowned and asked. "What do you think?" Xianxia Luo took a deep breath. Her full breasts heaved up and down. His red clothes were almost torn apart. "I was on the verge of breaking through, and my energy was diverted by you." "Haha, Don't you think it affected me? Yang Kai suddenly felt embarrassed. Really? I didn't know. If you knew, I would have killed you a long time ago. Shanqing Luo looked at him hatefully. Why would I let you live until now? Then you didn't break through? Yang Kai's eyes flashed. Not only did I not break through, I also suffered from the backlash of my technique, and my strength fell greatly. I don't know when I'll be able to break through again. Tell me, is this your fault? How can you blame me for this? Yang Kai rubbed his nose, but when he heard her say that her strength had fallen greatly, his expression became more relaxed. He looked at her meaningfully and said, Then what's your current level? Yuan Qi level 1. Are you satisfied? Shanqing Luo replied unhappily, giving Yang Kai a flirtatious look. You should have said so earlier. Yang Kai laughed loudly, and the last trace of caution and cautiousness he had completely disappeared. He was completely relieved. This dragon lady was only at Yuan Qi level 1, which was even lower than his own. Now he didn't need to be afraid of her anymore. However, even though her level was lower than his, she still had the foundation of an expert. If he really fought with her, it was hard to say who would win. Fortunately, no matter who it was, they didn't have any killing intent towards each other, so they shouldn't fight. AI, it's not all your fault. If I didn't kidnap you, you wouldn't have met with this misfortune. I brought this upon myself. Shanqing Luo sighed faintly. Hearing her sincere words, Yang Kai felt a bit guilty and nodded awkwardly. If that's the case, then I should thank you for saving my life before. Stinky brat, you still have some conscience. Shanqing Luo pursed her lips and smiled lightly. It seemed that the failure of her breakthrough this time didn't affect her at all, nor did it bring her the slightest bit of bad mood. After chatting for a while, Yang Kai suddenly stood up and said, You rest, I'm going to find something to eat. Be careful. Shanqing Luo softly exhorted. Yang Kai looked at her in surprise. He didn't know why this dragon lady was so concerned about him, but he didn't think too much about it and turned around to leave the cave. After Yang Kai left, Shanqing Luo let out a soft sigh, her expression becoming slightly strange as she placed her hand on her chest, her cheeks blushing slightly as she muttered to herself, So he's a sentimental man? Shanqing Luo's body was special and her cultivation method was special. Although she was flirtatious and charming, she would only like one man in her life and would only have sex with that man once. Before that, she had to plant a seed of love in her heart. When the time was right and the seed was full, it would be time for the two of them to make love. That night, that man would die without a doubt. At the same time, her cultivation method would reach the grand accomplishment stage. Yang Kai had been impudent to her before, unintentionally entering her knowledge sea and leaving a trace of his divine sense. Without a doubt, he had inadvertently planted a seed in her heart. This was a love seed. Her cultivation method was a very pitiful and sorrowful one. Every generation was passed down to only one woman. But every generation of women had to experience this kind of inhumane torture. Shanqing Luo still remembered how her mother missed her father for the rest of her life. What kind of torment and torture she suffered in her heart. In the end, she was depressed and died. Because the love seed would only be complete when the love was strong. In order to reach the grand accomplishment stage, the women of Shanqing Luo's cultivation method had to give all their sincerity. It was an unforgettable love. In one night, her beloved died. What woman could accept this kind of thing? And now, this kind of thing was about to happen to her. Lightly biting her red lips, Shanqing Luo was a bit at a loss. She wasn't mentally prepared at all. Originally, she wanted to wait a few years and find a suitable man to fall in love with, but she didn't expect this to happen so suddenly. Crackling sounds came from not far away. The tip of her nose was still lingering with the faint smell of meat. Shanqing Luo fluttered her dense eyelashes a few times and slightly opened her eyes. Yang Kai was sitting not far in front of her. A bonfire had been lit, and a half-cooked game was being roasted over the bonfire. You're really not worried? Yang Kai chuckled. When he came back and saw that this dragon lady had actually fallen asleep, he couldn't help but be surprised. What's there to be worried about? Don't tell me you're going to eat me? Xianxia Luo looked at Yang Kai with a smile. Yes, as long as you don't mind. I'm afraid you don't have that good fortune. Xianxia Luo laughed again and again. After a while, the game was roasted. Yang Kai tore off a piece of meat and handed it over. Xianxia Luo took it. She slowly tore off a piece of meat and put it in her mouth. She elegantly chewed it with her mouth, her posture elegant. On the other hand, Yang Kai held the rest of the game and ate heartily, his eating manners rough. Barbaric? Xianxia Luo glared at him. Yang Kai chuckled and asked while eating, "Where is this place? I didn't have time to ask you. You don't even know where you are?" Xianxia Luo looked at him suspiciously. "You're not a disciple of the Holy Land? Holy Land? What Holy Land?" Yang Kai's head was confused. Xianxia Luo had asked him before which leader he was a disciple of. Now that he thought about it, he was probably related to this Holy Land. He was stunned. Yang Kai said in shock, "This place isn't Dahan?" Xianxia Luo giggled and said, "Are you really confused or pretending to be confused? This place is naturally Dahan." Yang Kai smiled and said, "I really don't know, I just randomly stumbled into this place." Seeing that he didn't seem to be lying, Xianxia Luo straightened her face and said, "This is Changyun Holy Land." Changyun Holy Land? Changyun Evil Land. Yang Kai was shocked and stared at Xianxia Luo in shock. "You really aren't a disciple of the Holy Land." Xianxia Luo frowned and said with some annoyance, "What evil land? Don't make it sound so unpleasant. The evil land you speak of is the Tao in our hearts. It's just that everyone's ideas are different, so why do you have to make such a clear distinction? It's just that there are so many disputes in this world." Changyun Evil Land? Xianxia Luo? Yang Kai's mind flashed and he suddenly stood up, staring at the dragon lady opposite him, his eyes narrowing as he called out, "Beguiling demon queen Xianxia Luo?" Changyun Evil Land, under the demon lord, there were 6 great evil kings. Thunderclap Beast King, Tyrannical Force King, Profound Een Ghost King, Beguiling Demon Queen, Lightning Flash Shadow King, and Annihilating Poison King. Because of the appearance of the demon lord, Yang Kai had learned some information about the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land some time ago, so he had naturally heard of the 6 great evil kings. Of the 6 great evil kings, only one was a woman. That was the one in front of him, the one with the charm of a femme fatale, Xianxia Luo. No wonder he felt this name was familiar when he heard it before. Seeing Yang Kai so surprised, Xianxia Luo chuckled and calmly said, "Yes, it is this queen. What's wrong? Are you afraid?" "Afraid?" Yang Kai suddenly grinned, his expression becoming indifferent. "What's there to be afraid of? It's just that the rumored number 1 seductive woman in the world is right in front of me, so it's a bit unreal." Yang Kai stared at Xianxia Luo from top to bottom while clicking his tongue in wonder. So this is what the rumored beguiling demon queen looks like. Sure enough, hearing about her is not as good as meeting her in person. "Haven't you seen enough, little bastard?" Xianxia Luo felt his fiery gaze making her feel uneasy, so she waved her hand and threw the piece of beast meat towards him like a hidden weapon. Yang Kai leaned to the side, causing her to miss and then sit back down with a grin, frowning deeply. This time, the collapse of the void corridor had actually sent him to the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land. This place was the opposite of where Su Yen and the others had settled down, so it would be impossible to find them in a short time. Moreover, since this place was the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land, there would definitely be many evil demons here, so how could he leave? He first had to establish a good relationship with the dragon lady Xianxia Luo. With her identity and means, it would be easy for her to send him away from the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land. Making up his mind, Yang Kai tore off another piece of barbecue meat and handed it to her. Xianxia Luo shot him a disgruntled look and snorted, "This thing is stained with your saliva. I don't want to eat it." "It's not like you haven't eaten it before." Yang Kai grumbled but didn't force her. Xianxia Luo suddenly became angry, her chest heaving up and down as she recalled the time she had been forced to kiss him, grinding her teeth so hard they almost broke. Chapter 301. In the dense forest, Qiu Yimeng and the others were fleeing in a panic. Behind her, Luo Xiaoman and Bai Yunfeng both looked distressed and had many wounds on their bodies. In addition, the original dozen or so Yuan-Qi cultivators were now missing 2 or 3. As they ran, Luo Xiaoman's chest bounced up and down, as if she was carrying 2 snow-white rabbits in her arms. If it were any other time, Bai Yunfeng would definitely have taken in such a beautiful sight, but right now, this little brat was not in the mood at all. His life was on the verge of being forfeit, so how could he care about such beauty? There seemed to be some kind of pursuer behind the group, so in a panic, everyone was unfamiliar with this place and quickly lost their way, only knowing to follow behind Qiu Yimeng. Running at full speed, the Yuan-Qi passed by too quickly, and a small mountain appeared in front of them. Qiu Yimeng let out a light breath and said, "Let's stop and rest up ahead. The people behind us shouldn't be able to catch up so quickly. Let's recover first before continuing." Hearing her say this, the group couldn't help breathing a sigh of relief. After running for a day and a night, no one could afford such a consumption of energy. Not long after, everyone came to a secluded mountain and found a place to sit down, taking out pills to restore themselves. Next to them was a clear spring flowing down from the top of the mountain. Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman hurriedly went up and drank a few mouthfuls of water to moisten their dry throats and wash their faces, finally relaxing. Since the day they met that enchanting red-robed woman, their group had begun to run out of luck. The 3 immortal ascension boundary cultivators who had followed them were all killed by that woman, and then the dozen or so Yuan-Qi cultivators, under the leadership of Qiu Yimeng, explored the surrounding terrain, but before they could figure out the situation, they were surrounded by a group of cultivators who cultivated evil arts. After a fierce battle, they were finally able to break through, but the noise they made alarmed even more people. The strength of this group was not weak. However, there were too many enemies, and the number of pursuers behind them had only increased over the past few days. In desperation, Qiu Yimeng could only retreat into this dense forest, trying to use the terrain here to find an opportunity to break through. The 2 women sat down, both looking exhausted. "Elder Sister Qiu, what is this place?" Luo Xiaoman's pair of big eyes were filled with panic. Listening to Luo Xiaoman's question, Qiu Yimeng's expression froze. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly said, "If I'm not wrong, I'm not sure if I'm wrong. This should be the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land." "Ah, the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land?" Luo Xiaoman exclaimed, her beautiful eyes trembling slightly. Everyone else also stared at her in amazement. Bai Yunfeng frowned and asked with some disbelief, "Young Lady Qiu, how can you be sure this is the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land?" Qiu Yimeng glanced at him faintly. "Besides the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land, where else can there be so many cultivators who have fallen into the evil Dao? Didn't you see their expressions when they were fighting? That doesn't necessarily mean this place is the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land." Bai Yunfeng still couldn't believe it. "Perhaps this is the territory of an evil sect." Qiu Yimeng chuckled. "I'm sure this is the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land." "Then what should we do?" Luo Xiaoman didn't have any ideas of her own, unlike Qiu Yimeng, who was confident she could take charge of the overall situation. Hearing this, her beautiful face couldn't help but turn pale. "I don't know." Qiu Yimeng shook her head bitterly. This time, she had only intended to lead the group to High Heaven Pavilion, but now they had suddenly arrived at the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land thousands of kilometers away. The deviation was too great. The Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land had countless masters and evil demons everywhere. This group of people had no master guarding them, so it was impossible for them to break through the blockade and leave safely. On top of that, the Ash-Gray Cloud Evil Land and the forces outside were like fire and water. Once this group of people fell into enemy hands, the consequences would be unimaginable. This was especially true for Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman, both of whom were peerless beauties, so if they were caught by those evil cultivators, all that awaited them was a fate of being toyed with and humiliated. Take this time to rest. Fortunately, there aren't many masters among the people chasing us, otherwise we would have nowhere to run. Qiu Yimeng sighed deeply. Luo Xiaoman nodded and closed her eyes obediently. Less than half an hour after the group had recovered, Qiu Yimeng suddenly opened her eyes and shouted, "Hurry up, someone's coming." Hearing her shout, everyone hurriedly woke up from their meditation and followed her out. During this past month, Qiu Yimeng had detected the enemy's movements many times in advance and led everyone to avoid many dangers. Although they didn't know how a Yuan Qi 9th stage cultivator like her managed to do this, everyone had long been convinced by her methods and naturally obeyed her orders. Yang Kai and Shanqing Luo walked through the jungle. After getting along with her for nearly a month, Yang Kai discovered that this enchantress's heart was actually quite good. She looked weak and delicate, her face was charming, and her age was probably around 27 to 28 years old, but she was skilled at maintaining her appearance, no different from a teenage girl. In fact, she even had a unique temperament that came with the passage of time. This kind of temperament was particularly attractive to men. Coupled with her charm, it could be said that Shanqing Luo was the nemesis of all men in the world, attracting both young and old alike. During this time, Yang Kai also behaved very calmly, no longer blindly calling her elder sister like before, causing Shanqing Luo to have a whole new level of respect for him. It was rare for a 17 or 18-year-old boy to have such a calm personality. Although the two of them had been together for a long time, they hadn't talked much. Shanqing Luo didn't speak much, and Yang Kai also didn't try to annoy her. Most of the time, he just followed her, and when he rested, he would meditate and cultivate, not relaxing for even a moment. Traveling with such beauty, his mood was pleasant, and he wasn't lonely along the way. According to Shanqing Luo, she had come out this time to find something that had a lot to do with her. In the past, her mother had come looking for it, and before that, her grandmother had also come looking for it. Now, it was her turn to do so. However, plans couldn't keep up with changes. Before coming here, her strength was extraordinary, so naturally there wouldn't be any problems. However, after the backlash of her cultivation method, her strength had dropped significantly, and now she had only recovered to the 3rd level of Yuan Qi, so she couldn't go to that dangerous place anymore. Without a strong foundation, going there would only be suicide. However, the two of them wandered in this dense forest for more than 10 days, but they still stayed there. As they walked, Yang Kai frowned and looked at her suspiciously. He stopped and said, "Beauty, let me ask you a question." What? Shanqing Luo also stopped and looked at Yang Kai indifferently. "Are you lost?" Yang Kai asked the guess in his heart. Shanqing Luo's face showed an unnatural expression, and her eyes flickered. Yang Kai was stunned. "You're not really lost, are you?" Shanqing Luo blushed slightly and snorted, "So what if I'm lost? Is it strange?" Yang Kai smiled bitterly. "If you're lost, you should have said so earlier. I thought you had a clear goal, so I followed you blindly for so many days." Fortunately, she hadn't been in a hurry these days, and her expression was calm. If Yang Kai hadn't noticed that the scenery here was familiar, he probably wouldn't have remembered. However, she was also an expert, so how could she be lost? Yang Kai felt that it was a little inconceivable. "What do you know?" Shanqing Luo snorted, and her small nose wrinkled. "This is a maze forest, and there is a natural array here, covering an area of 100 miles. If my strength was still there, I would naturally find a way out, but now I can only rely on my luck." As she spoke, she glared at Yang Kai and gritted her teeth. "In the end, it's still your problem. What does it have to do with me?" Yang Kai was angry. "Who shared the energy when I broke through? Who made me suffer from the backlash of my secret art, causing my strength to drop so much?" Shanqing Luo questioned. When she brought Yang Kai to this maze forest, she hadn't expected that she would suffer from the backlash of her secret art, and now she couldn't get out. Good, it's my problem." Yang Kai knew he was in the wrong, so he didn't bother to argue with her, and instead slightly released his divine sense, only to find that the effective range of his divine sense had been greatly reduced, only covering an area of less than a kilometer. Shanqing Luo looked at him with a light smile, and said, "I know you're a bit strange, just Yuan Qi 4th stage, but you've already cultivated your divine sense, But without the strength of an immortal ascension boundary, it's impossible to find a way out, so save your energy. Beauty, we're in trouble. Yang Kai stared at her, his expression changing slightly. What? Before he had finished speaking, the sound of flapping clothes came from not far away, and immediately 6 or 7 figures suddenly descended from the sky, landing not far in front of the two of them. Xianxia Luo's face also sank, narrowing her beautiful eyes as she stared at the newcomers. When she saw the appearance of the person who had come, her temperament suddenly changed, becoming overbearing and arrogant. Yang Kai looked at her in surprise, thinking to himself that she was indeed worthy of being one of the 6 great evil kings. This kind of superior attitude was not something an average person could imitate, but at the same time, he was also secretly on guard against these newcomers. As soon as the 6 or 7 people landed, they discovered Yang Kai and Xianxia Luo. This group of people had chased after Qiu Yimeng and the others, but after seeing Xianxia Luo in her red robes, their expressions changed abruptly and they all took a step back. Xianxia Luo just stared at them with a smile, her arrogant temperament becoming more and more obvious. Being stared at by her like this, the faces of these people became more and more gloomy, each of them feeling as if they were facing a great enemy. I was wondering who it was. It turns out it was just a few of the Beast King's subordinates who didn't have eyes. Xianxia Luo snorted, slowly saying, her expression filled with arrogance and coldness. These people all trembled, their faces suddenly going pale. One of the Immortal Ascension Boundary 3rd Stage Masters quickly stepped forward and respectfully bowed, trembling as he said, "Subordinate Gui Yuan Ming greets Master, Queen. I did not know Master was here. If I have offended you, please forgive me." As he spoke, he lowered his eyes and stared straight at his toes, not daring to meet Xianxia Luo's eyes. "Greetings, milord." The others also hurriedly bowed, their expressions respectful, but there was also a hint of fear. Everyone's raised arms were trembling slightly. It was obvious that they were extremely scared. Xianxia Luo snorted, causing these people to become even more frightened. "Your courage isn't small. Did you come here to chase me?" As she spoke, her expression became unfriendly, a murderous intent flashing across her eyes. Chapter 302. Hearing Xianxia Luo's question, those people complained incessantly in their hearts, cold sweat dripping down their foreheads. How did they end up encountering this dragon lady here? The heavens don't have eyes. We don't dare. Gui Yuan Ming couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Master knows, this subordinate is only tracking a group of Yuan Qi cultivators who broke into the Holy Land. This subordinate doesn't want to offend Master Feng Wei. This subordinate deserves to die 10,000 deaths. "Oh, is that so?" Xianxia Luo lightly responded. Her nasal voice was very strong, and her voice was charming and enchanting. When those people heard this, not only did they not feel that it was pleasant to hear, but they also felt as if there was a thorn in their back. They all broke out in cold sweat, not daring to make a sound. Xianxia Luo calmly raised her orchid fingers, gently stroking her fingernails, and said with an indifferent expression, "Since you know that you deserve to die 10,000 deaths, why don't you make a move? Do you want me to send you on your way?" Gui Yuan Ming's body instantly trembled, and with a plop, he knelt on the ground, his head touching the ground as a chill ran down his spine. The people behind him were also drenched in cold sweat. Large drops of sweat slid down their heads and flowed down their necks to their chests. Yang Kai's eyes flashed, and he silently stood behind Xianxia Luo. This was the first time he had seen the Dragon Lady's methods, and it was really awe-inspiring. Was this the real beguiling demon queen? Although he didn't quite understand the situation in front of him, Yang Kai guessed that Xianxia Luo had some grudges with the masters in front of him, so she was bullying them for no reason. Moreover, Xianxia Luo's current strength had greatly decreased, so she probably wanted to use this kind of preemptive strike to scare them away. Hee. Xianxia Luo suddenly laughed and said to the other side, "Get up, I was just joking with you. How could you take it so seriously, so boring?" Gui Yuan Ming didn't dare to move. He didn't believe Xianxia Luo, this kind of woman, if he stood up, she would directly kill him. He repeatedly kowtowed and thanked Thank you, Master, for not killing me. Thank you, Master, for not killing me. Xianxia Luo coldly glanced at the other side and said with a cold voice, Go back and pass a message to your master. Regarding the matter a month ago, I will have a good talk with him sooner or later, so get lost. Gui Yuanming, as if he had been spared from a dream, he quickly got up, while he lowered his head and retreated. Please rest assured, Master. Master, I will definitely pass your message's order. Xianxia Luo. Sha. Qing Luo 6 people. He mustered all of his strength. In the blink of an eye, they were nowhere to be seen. Xianxia Luo, Shan demon, S. Shan Yu, Shan Qing, T. In his heart, he greatly admired this dragon lady's methods and the majesty she had just displayed. Xianxia Luo walked faster and faster, and after a while, she actually flew like the wind. Why are you so fast? Didn't you already deceive them? Yang Kai asked while chasing after her. It's only for a while. Gui Yuanming's scheming is deep. Who knows when he will see through it? My relationship with the Thunderbolt Beast King is not very good. The reason I was injured before was because he brought people to ambush me. Those people are the Beast King's subordinates. If they catch me, I'll be finished. Xianxia Luo hurriedly explained, her feet not stopping for a moment. In a flash, she had already traveled more than 10 zhang. TSK? Yang Kai's expression was strange. You are an evil king. That Thunderbolt Beast King has the same status as you, yet he dared to bring people to ambush you. If there isn't any serious conflict of interest, then it must be that he covets your beauty. The temptation of a beautiful woman is indeed very strong. You shut up. Xianxia Luo glared at him, her expression becoming cold. Yang Kai just shrugged his shoulders and stopped talking. Gui Yuanming's group of 7 fled more than a dozen kilometers before suddenly coming to a stop. What's wrong, Brother Gui? An Immortal Ascension Boundary Second Stage Master looked at him and asked. Gui Yuanming's brow furrowed as he glanced back at Xianxia Luo. Seemingly thinking of something, he asked, Don't you think that dragon lady is acting a bit strange today? What's wrong? Why would she let us go so easily? The more Gui Yuanming thought about it, the more suspicious he became. Master brought people to ambush her a month ago, not to mention the past grievances between her and Master. Even if we met her a month ago, we definitely wouldn't have had a good time. Then why would she let us go? Gui Yuanming frowned and pondered. Hesitantly, he said, I heard that although we weren't able to capture the dragon lady in that battle, she was still struck by one of Master's moves. That's right, I saw that her aura was a little unstable just now. Could it be that she was seriously injured in that battle and still hasn't recovered? How could the power of Master's moves be so easily neutralized? Gui Yuanming's eyes lit up. She must have been seriously injured, otherwise she wouldn't have let us go so easily. I still remember that half a year ago, Brother Yuan, your little brother was killed by that dragon lady on the spot just because he glanced at her. The dragon lady is vicious and merciless. How could she be so easy to deal with? Hearing this, Yuan Shi's gloomy face flashed a trace of resentment as he coldly snorted. If it weren't for the special secret art she cultivated, the previous generation's queen wouldn't have been able to pass down most of her cultivation to them. How could she be so strong? A little brat, father here would have killed her long ago. Gui Yuanming's eyes narrowed as he grinned meaningfully. If Brother Yuan wants to avenge your little brother, I'm afraid this is your chance. Everyone present understood the meaning behind his words and couldn't help feeling a chill run down their spines. Not everyone dared to have ideas about the beguiling demon queen. Are you afraid? Gui Yuanming sneered. Since she let us go, she must have some scruples, but what is she worried about? She must be worried that she can't beat us. Yuan Shi nodded. Brother Gui's words are reasonable, but this is only a guess. What if she isn't injured, or has already recovered from her injuries? We'll know once we try. Gui Yuanming grinned meaningfully. Let's see if you have the guts. The others were silent as they glanced at each other with hesitant expressions. It was undeniable that Gui Yuanming's words were very reasonable, but they were still afraid of what if. Seeing the hesitation on everyone's faces, Gui Yuanming struck while the iron was hot. Everyone, this is the famous beguiling demon queen. Don't you want to have a taste? To be able to experience such a woman once, even if you die, it would be worth it. Thinking about Xianxia Luo's tender body and seductive voice, thinking about how she had been stripped naked, thinking about her moans and cries, everyone's breathing became heavy. Gui Yuanming continued, moreover, since she can pass on her cultivation to the next generation, it doesn't mean she can't pass it on to us. Immortal Ascension Boundary 9th Stage Strength. Even if we split it evenly, each of us should be able to increase our cultivation by at least 1 or 2 minor realms, right? Everyone was finally moved. Yuan Shi's eyes flashed as he quickly nodded. Brother Gui is right, we can both taste her beauty and obtain her cultivation. It is indeed worth risking our lives for. The others thought about it carefully before gritting their teeth and agreeing. Gui Yuanming laughed loudly. Brothers, you're truly loyal. There's no time to lose, let's hurry up and catch up. Yang Kai and Xianxia Luo flew through the jungle, their direction uncertain. Half a day later, suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps came from behind. Xianxia Luo's face sank. Gritting her teeth, she said, sure enough, we've been discovered. Saying so, she quickly stopped and took a deep breath to calm the blood in her heart. Together with Yang Kai, she calmly stood in place. It's them. Yang Kai released his divine sense slightly and noticed the number of people approaching, his face also becoming gloomy. Xianxia Luo's worries were indeed reasonable. Although she had scared off that group of people with an overbearing attitude and didn't have many flaws in her words and actions, those who were meticulous could still find clues. It was like a little bit of blood in the sea. A fierce shark would always be able to find the scent. Master! A moment later, Gui Yuanming and the others suddenly appeared not far away, all of them looking a little nervous, but now they were not as cautious as before, their eyes flashing with a meaningful light. They also dared to secretly look at Xianxia Luo, their eyes flashing with obscene light from time to time. What's the matter? Xianxia Luo asked with a cold face. Master's speed is so fast, it took us a long time to catch up. Gui Yuanming's attitude was clearly more presumptuous than before. Obviously he was testing, but he was already 80% sure of his speculation. It had only been a short time since they separated from her, but it took them a long time to catch up. If it weren't for a guilty conscience, why would they run so fast? Cut the crap, what's the matter? Xianxia Luo looked impatient and coldly shouted. It's like this subordinate forgot one thing before. My master once told me that if I met you, I would give you a small gift. This is a small gift for mistress. I hope that mistress won't take what happened a month ago to heart. Saying so, Gui Yuanming casually tossed something towards Xianxia Luo. This was a chess piece, of special quality, obviously a good grade secret treasure. At this moment, this secret treasure was filled with yuan qi by Gui Yuanming. It seemed to be thrown casually, but in fact it was filled with evil intentions. Xianxia Luo casually caught it. Although she was prepared, she was still shocked by this chess piece and her delicate body trembled, her arms slightly numb. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the people around them all lit up. Gui Yuanming, you're courting death. Xianxia Luo shouted. Gui Yuanming laughed. Master. Forgive me, this subordinate accidentally used a little too much strength, but with master's strength, how could you not catch it? Could it be that master's current strength is greatly reduced? At the end of his words, his voice was low, and his pair of eyes did not hide the obscene light in them, constantly roaming over Xianxia Luo's body. Xianxia Luo's expression changed slightly, knowing that the other party had seen through her, so she no longer tried to hide it and laughed lightly. Yes, my strength is greatly reduced, but if I want to kill you bastards, it will be as easy as flipping my hand. As she spoke, her pair of beautiful eyes suddenly glowed with a dense light, as if they contained endless magic, drawing in everyone's divine soul, trying to pull them in. At the same time, a strange fragrance filled the air, causing every man's heart to involuntarily beat faster and their blood to boil. Yang Kai's eyes were slightly confused for a moment, but he quickly regained his clarity. Yuan Qi quickly retreated into Dan Tian. The Azura sword appeared in his hand, and the evil energy in his unyielding golden skeleton burst out. Wrapped in a cloud of black qi, he arrived in front of Gui Yuanming. Chapter 303. Yang Kai's reaction speed was extremely fast. He had acted almost as soon as Xianxia Luo used her seduction technique. Xianxia Luo was secretly surprised. She didn't know how he could escape from the illusion so quickly. Not to mention that he was only at the 4th level of Yuan Qi. Even an immortal ascension boundary master wouldn't be able to escape so easily in front of her. Which sect did this little hooligan come from? The Shura sword spat out black gas and stabbed towards Gui Yuanming's neck like a snake coming out of its hole. Gui Yuanming's blank eyes suddenly emitted a cold light as his mouth curled into a sneer. Yang Kai's face darkened. He quickly changed from attack to defense, his Yuan Qi bursting out majestically. Ding! Yang Kai rolled back and returned to Xianxia Luo's side. His hand holding the sword trembled slightly as his blood and qi flowed backwards. He let out a heavy groan before calming down. Ha! Gui Yuanming looked up to the sky and laughed. His expression revealed a trace of obscenity. He licked his lips and stared at Xianxia Luo unscrupulously, saying, "This subordinate has long heard of Master's dream. It is indeed extraordinary." Xianxia Luo's charming face flashed a trace of coldness. Only now did she know that Gui Yuanming and the others were already prepared. If Master's strength wasn't damaged, we naturally wouldn't be able to resist this dream. But now Gui Yuanming laughed obscenely and raised his arms, shouting, "Brothers, it seems that Master's body isn't very good. Later on, you must be gentle. Don't ruin our queen's delicate body." "Brother Gua, don't worry. We will be gentle." Yuan Shi stepped forward and stared at Xianxia Luo without fear. A series of obscene laughter sounded. Everyone was still a little uneasy. But now that they had easily resisted Xianxia Luo's dream, their morale was greatly boosted. Xianxia Luo was so angry that she laughed. She looked at everyone and said in a soft voice, "Do you really think you can defeat this king?" Seeing that she was calm and composed without the slightest trace of fear, Gui Yuanming's heart also jumped. Hesitation appeared on his face. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, "Everyone, you have to know that once the bow is drawn, there is no turning back. We have already offended this lowly servant. If she escapes this time, I believe you don't need me to remind you of the fate that awaits us." With Xianxia Luo's means and personality, if she really escaped, then these people wouldn't be able to live in peace even if they hid at the ends of the earth. Knowing the severity of the matter, the others nodded in agreement. "If that's the case, then I can only give it a try. If I can taste the most seductive woman in the world, why should I fear death?" Gui Yuanming said in a low voice, "Brother Ban, you're the weakest, so I'll leave that eyesore to you. Get rid of him as soon as possible and come help us." A skinny man looked at Yang Kai and grinned, "No problem." Xianxia Luo giggled. Secretly circulating her Yuan Qi, she suddenly waved her hands forward and shouted, "Daring to offend this king, all of you will die." A series of crystal-clear white silk threads suddenly filled the sky and shrouded the crowd. These 6 or 7 people were all immortal ascension boundary masters. However, their strength wasn't too high, most of them just immortal ascension boundary 1st or 2nd stage. Only Gui Yuanming was a 3rd stage master. Xianxia Luo suddenly launched an attack, forcing everyone to hurriedly circulate their secret arts and use their artifacts to resist. Yang Kai waved his hand and condensed nearly 1,000 sword qi blades around him. Thousands of blood-red petals fluttered in the air, transforming the world into a sea of flowers. His opponents were all immortal ascension boundary masters, so Yang Kai had no intention of holding back. Such a concentrated attack also caused the enemy to be in a fluster as they tried to defend themselves. Xianxia Luo quickly formed a series of seals with her hands, and the crystal-clear silk threads covering the sky suddenly seemed to come alive, wrapping around 2 of the immortal ascension boundary 1st stage masters. These 2 were the weakest of the group, so in a moment of carelessness, they were bound by the silk threads. Yang Kai took this opportunity to release his white tiger and divine ox seal, summoning 2 jet black beast phantoms to roar towards the sky, baring their fangs as they rushed towards the 2 men, biting them fiercely. Thousands of blood-red petals attacked in unison, each petal as sharp as a blade. Waves of miserable shrieks rang out from the other side, causing Gui Yuanming and the others to be greatly alarmed. Poo poo poo, blood splashed. Xianxia Luo's eyes flashed with amazement. She hadn't expected Yang Kai to be so powerful. This series of fierce attacks was not something a Yuan Qi 4th stage cultivator could display. Clenching her fists, the silk threads tightly bound the 2 wounded Immortal Ascension Boundary 1st stage masters and instantly dismembered them. With the 2 of them working together, they were able to kill 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary masters in a single blow. At the same time, Xianxia Luo's tender body suddenly burst forth with more white silk threads, enveloping the remaining people. Gracefully stepping forward, she instantly closed in on Yang Kai, grabbed his arm, and shouted, "Let's go!" Yang Kai waved his hand and the thousands of petals quickly flew back into his body. Without stopping, he and Xianxia Luo quickly fled. This dragon lady was only a Yuan Qi 3rd stage cultivator. Being able to join forces with him to kill 2 Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters was already the best she could do. Although the battle was short, the amount of Yuan Qi she had consumed was definitely not small, so staying here wouldn't be good for her. Cheap slut. Gui Yuanming's angry shout came from behind. He hadn't expected that Xianxia Luo had only made a feint. After she left, he realized that the other party had no intention of fighting. After a dozen breaths of time, Gui Yuanming and the others finally managed to break free from the white threads, each of them staring towards the direction Xianxia Luo had disappeared with some lingering fear in their eyes, thinking that the evil king was truly the evil king. Even if she was seriously injured, she would not be easy to deal with. "What do we do now?" Yuan Shi asked with a gloomy face. Gui Yuanming bitterly said, "If you don't want to be hunted down by her, the only way is to catch up and kill her." "Listen to Brother Gua." The remaining people nodded in unison. The others no longer hesitated and hurriedly chased after her. Xianxia Luo held onto Yang Kai's arm, originally intending to run with him, but as soon as they started running, she discovered that this little rascal's speed wasn't much slower than hers. She didn't know what kind of strange footwork he was using, but with a schwa 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 sound, he was able to cover several dozen feet. While running, her plump chest rubbed against Yang Kai's arm, causing Xianxia Luo's face to turn slightly red, and she hurriedly tried to pull back her arm. "Don't." Yang Kai hurriedly stopped her. "My footwork is used for short distances. Once I use up all my Yuan Qi, I need to slow down a bit. When that happens, I'll need your help." Yang Kai hurriedly held onto her hand. Xianxia Luo nodded slightly, continuing to hold onto Yang Kai's arm as they ran together. Half an hour later, Gui Yuanming and the others were getting closer and closer. They also knew that if they allowed Xianxia Luo to escape, the consequences would be unimaginable, so they desperately chased after her. Xianxia Luo lightly gritted her teeth and said, "If we can escape this time, I'll definitely let them die a horrible death." Yang Kai curled his lips. "You should think about what will happen if they catch you." Xianxia Luo's face suddenly paled, her heart filled with fear, and her delicate body couldn't help but tremble a little. Suddenly, an intoxicating blush appeared on her charming face, and she resolutely said, "If that's really the case, then before that, I'll give myself to you first. Anyway, you're not bad looking, so it's better than letting those scums take advantage of me." Yang Kai turned his head to look at her in surprise, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Beauty, although I'm very happy to hear you say that, I know that if I'm taken by you, there won't be a good ending, so it's better to avoid it. I can't afford it." Xianxia Luo bitterly looked at him, and softly said, "So you know." "Of course I know." In this life and death situation, there was no need to hide, so Xianxia Luo sighed and explained, "My physique is special, it's called the Poisonous Widow." Yang Kai was shocked and quickly asked, "What kind of physique is this? What are its characteristics?" "If I'm aroused, all my body fluids will contain poison, including the breath I exhale. Xianxia Luo looked at him with a smile. Now you should know why you fainted when I kissed you last time, right? Recalling that sweet and wonderful taste, Yang Kai couldn't help but lick his lips. The deeper the emotion, the stronger the poison. Last time, I only gave you a small warning. Who told you to be so dishonest? Smiling wryly, Kai Yang replied, I had no choice. You were the one who captured me for no reason. And all of your bodily fluids, does that also include down there? Xianxia Luo's face turned red, and she spat, rogue. Yang Kai turned pale with fright. Then wouldn't I be dead if I did it with you once? Xianxia Luo took a deep breath, somewhat regretting telling him these things. This little rogue dared to say anything. He didn't hide anything. It was really unbearable. Yang Kai rolled his eyes and said, How about I make you aroused, then you can poison them to death with a few mouthfuls of saliva? Can you be a bit more serious? Xianxia Luo couldn't stand it anymore. At this time, what was this little bastard thinking? I'm serious, Yang Kai said with a serious face. While the two were talking, their feet didn't slow down at all, their speed like the wind. Suddenly, the front suddenly opened up. They had rushed out of the forest. The two of them abruptly stopped in their tracks as they stared ahead in astonishment. Not far away, there were actually two groups of people. A group of people surrounded another group of people in the center. Those people who were surrounded all had ashen faces and resentful expressions. Yang Kai glanced around and couldn't help letting out a light sigh. He found that the surrounded group was actually the cultivator group headed by Qiu Yimeng, the big-breasted Luo Xiaoman, and the Bai families by Yunfeng were also among them. In addition, there were 3 or 4 Yuan-Qi cultivators and several corpses on the ground, their blood flowing freely. The circle of people outside was looking at Qiu Yimeng and the others with a smirk, most of their eyes lingering on Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman's beautiful bodies, their eyes filled with lust. Qiu Yimeng smiled bitterly while Luo Xiaoman's beautiful face paled. The two women leaned back to back, gasping for breath, their Yuan-Qi almost completely depleted. They had fled for so many days, but today, they were finally caught by the ash-gray cloud evil land cultivator, and after a fierce battle, they were completely surrounded. Seeing that escape was hopeless, Yang Kai and Xianxia Luo rushed in. Chapter 304. It wasn't that Yang Kai and Xianxia Luo were careless, it was just that the two of them had been in the middle of a romantic conversation and hadn't expected that there would be people in front of them. When these two appeared, they instantly attracted everyone's attention. The people surrounding Qiu Yimeng and the others should be the cultivator from the ash-gray cloud evil land. Their numbers and strength far exceeded Qiu Yimeng's group, and now they were all looking at the two women in the field with relaxed expressions, ready to enjoy the struggle and resistance of these two beauties in this desperate situation. The struggle and resistance of a beautiful woman always had a unique flavor to it, especially Luo Xiaoman. Her voluptuous breasts swayed up and down in panic, causing the surrounding men to become even more lustful as they stared at her with lustful eyes. So even though they had the absolute upper hand, this group of people didn't rush to attack Qiu Yimeng and the others, instead wearing shameless smiles on their faces, their demeanors extremely ambiguous. This time we've struck gold. When Yang Kai and Xianxia Luo appeared, one of the Yuan-Qi Boundary 8-stage men's eyes suddenly lit up as he stared at Xianxia Luo and burst out laughing. Xianxia Luo was known as the world's most seductive woman, so naturally she had her own unique charms, which were undoubtedly more attractive than Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman. In particular, this dragon lady was currently running away in a panic, her body dripping with sweat and her cheeks flushed red, making her look even more charming and enchanting. The big man stared at Xianxia Luo with a burning gaze, his breathing becoming heavy as he shouted, "Big brother, look, another beauty has delivered herself to our door, this one is so charming." "Not bad, I've never seen such a beauty before. I've never seen such a tasty woman before. Big brother, you'll have a taste of the soup later. When Big brother is done playing we'll go. This kind of woman's body, we won't get tired even if we play with it 1,000 times. Another person also shouted excitedly. "Aren't there 2 little girls here? Although they aren't as good as this woman, they are still a rare beauty. This is a rare beauty, we are truly blessed today. Haha. The group's obscenities made Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman pale while Shanqing Luo's pretty face also sank. Among this group of people, the only Immortal Ascension Boundary Master stared at Shanqing Luo for a moment before his expression suddenly changed and he shouted, "Shut up!" The crowd's shouts and laughter suddenly stopped. "What's wrong, big brother?" Everyone was puzzled. They didn't know why he had looked like he had seen a ghost. The Immortal Ascension Boundary Master's forehead suddenly broke out in a cold sweat as he cupped his fists towards Shanqing Luo and said, "Beast King's subordinate, Gu Tian Luo, greets Mistress Queen." Of Shan's Qing Luo, Qing Luo's Luo. A woman, S's, this. SSSSS. Normally, if any man dared to show the slightest hint of lewdness while looking at her, she would tear them into 10,000 pieces. But now, these reckless bastards of his actually wanted to play with her? Praising her's goods. It's over. With this woman's personality, none of them would be able to escape today. Respectfully bowing, Gu Tian Luo felt a chill in his heart. All of his previous confidence had disappeared, leaving behind only a deep sense of fear. The bunch of fools. Idiots. Even if you want to die, this is not the way to go. Even if you want to die, don't drag me down with you. Originally, he could have enjoyed the wonderful taste of two little beauties, but now he had stepped into the gates of hell. The difference between now and then was enormous. The depression in Gu Tian Luo's heart could be imagined. On top of that, the Dragon Lady's expression was obviously not good. This time he was afraid he really would not be able to escape. Seeing Gu Tian Luo solemnly bow, the others were also shocked. Carefully savoring his words, Master Queen, besides the Dragon Lady, who else could it be? In an instant, everyone trembled, a look of horror appearing on their faces. None of them had ever imagined that the woman they had just flirted with was that woman. With the situation suddenly reversed, Qiu Yimeng saw a glimmer of hope and hurriedly shouted, "Yang Kai." Yang Kai grinned towards her and quietly squeezed Shanqing Luo's hand, hinting to her that they should leave quickly. There were still several Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters chasing after them. Shanqing Luo secretly nodded, only letting out a light snort, not saying anything, and together with Yang Kai, the two of them strolled away. Qiu Yimeng quickly squeezed out an ugly smile, trying to hide her flirtatious expression, and said, "Yang Kai, you won't just stand by and watch us die, right? Good or bad, we came here together." Shanqing Luo's methods. Qiu Yimeng had personally experienced them, killing 3 Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters with just a wave of her hand. Although she had a grudge with her, in the end she was still a woman, so falling into her hands was better than falling into the hands of this group of scum. She had kidnapped Yang Kai that day, and now the two of them had appeared here together in an intimate manner, so Qiu Yimeng naturally thought that there was some kind of relationship between them, so she had pinned her hopes on Yang Kai. As long as Shanqing Luo could help, they could escape this sea of bitterness and avoid this crisis. "Yang Kai, save us!" Luo Xiaoman also exclaimed, her eyes filled with hope and pleading. "Huh? Do we know each other?" Yang Kai glanced at them with a smile, his expression indifferent. Yang Kai was currently like a clay bodhisattva crossing a river, unable to protect himself, so how could he be in the mood to care about the life or death of others? What's more, if it weren't for Qiu Yimeng leading a group of people to High Heaven Pavilion, he would have already been together with Su Yan, living a carefree and happy life. How could he be in such a state now? If one really wanted to investigate, these two women were the culprits of all this, so it was already good enough that Yang Kai didn't find trouble with them. "It's me, Yang Kai, I'm Luo Xiaoman, we've met before." Luo Xiaoman really thought that Yang Kai didn't remember her, so she quickly explained, "Please save us." "What's in it for me to save you?" Yang Kai chuckled. After a short while, he and Shanqing Luo had already walked a short distance away. "What benefits do you want, elder sister Qiu, and I can give you? If I want you, will you give me?" Luo Xiaoman suddenly became speechless while Qiu Yimeng couldn't help taking a deep breath, a look of disgust appearing on her face. It's time to go. Yang Kai whispered to Shanqing Luo, before we go, let's warn them not to bully those two women. Do you like them? Shanqing Luo looked at Yang Kai suspiciously. No, I just feel that it would be strange if they were to be defiled. Yang Kai frowned. In fact, I'm quite protective of them. Shanqing Luo giggled, but before she had time to shout, Gui Yuanming's angry roar came from behind. Cheap slut, don't even think about leaving. The two women's expressions changed slightly, and without any hesitation, they quickly flew out. Gu Tianluo raised his head suspiciously, frowning as he shouted, Is it Brother Gua? Gui Yuanming was stunned for a moment before his expression became joyful. Brother Gu, quickly stop that dragon lady Shanqing Luo. Gu Tianluo was shocked, thinking to himself that today he had suffered 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Not only were his subordinates blind, even Gui Yuanming had gone crazy. You want to go crazy? Why are you dragging me into this? Opportunity knocks but once. That dragon lady is seriously injured and is no longer as strong as she used to be. Gui Yuanming shouted. Gu Tianluo stood up straight, thinking to himself that it was no wonder she had so hurriedly passed by him, even ignoring his subordinates who had tried to flirt with her. She's seriously injured. In an instant, the humility and panic on Gu Tianluo's face disappeared as he decisively formed a seal with his hands and sent out a golden beam of light. Yang Kai and Shanqing Luo had only flown a few dozen meters when the golden beam of light arrived in front of them and suddenly transformed into a golden light curtain. Yang Kai and Shanqing Luo were caught off guard and collided head-on with the golden light curtain, sending both of them flying backwards. When they landed on the ground, Gui Yuanming and the others had already closed in and surrounded them. Yang Kai cursed, his luck was really bad today, even running away was intercepted. Haha. Gui Yuanming laughed as he stared at Shanqing Luo coldly and wickedly. Mistress, you won't be able to escape, save your energy. Shanqing Luo coldly snorted, her beautiful eyes staring at Gu Tianluo as she scolded. Gu Tianluo, do you also want to die? Gu Tianluo shrunk his neck and smiled. Master must be joking, who would want to die if they can live? Today, a few of my subordinates have offended you. I just want you to stay and have a good talk with me. I don't have any other intentions. I hope you can understand. If you don't want to die, kill them for me and I'll let bygones be bygones. Shanqing Luo said coldly. Gui Yuanming sneered, cheap slut. Don't try to put on airs here. Do you really think you're still at your peak? No matter how eloquent you are, don't even think about leaving. Since we dared to do this, we'll definitely do it to the end. Good. Yuan Shi stepped forward and stared at Shanqing Luo. Master, if you still value your life, please don't resist, otherwise it won't do anyone any good. Shanqing Luo sneered, her eyes filled with disdain. If I go all out, I can at least take 3 of you with me. Which one of you wants to come? The several immortal ascension boundary masters all frowned, their expressions filled with dread. It was precisely because they were afraid that Shanqing Luo would go all out that even though they had surrounded her, no one dared to act rashly. A starving camel is still bigger than a horse, even a rotten ship has 3 pounds of nails. After all, this was the beguiling demon queen, not an ordinary master. So, you're also powerless to protect yourselves? Qiu Yimeng looked at Yang Kai and Shanqing Luo curiously, a trace of satisfaction flashing across her eyes. But, a few days ago, this woman in red had displayed such terrifying strength, so why was she so weak today? However, thinking about the current situation, Qiu Yimeng couldn't help sighing. Luo Xiaoman's eyes dimmed as she completely lost focus, like the dark clouds in the sky, blocking out all light. Originally, she could have pinned her hopes on Yang Kai and Shanqing Luo, but now even the 2 of them were surrounded. This kind of result was something she had not expected, making her previous pleas seem like a joke. Chapter 305. When the fight starts, you leave on your own. While the 2 sides were facing each other, Shanqing Luo suddenly whispered to Yang Kai. Yang Kai frowned and seemed to be lost in thought, turning a deaf ear to her words. Hey! Shanqing Luo nudged Yang Kai. Yang Kai suddenly came back to his senses, a strange expression on his face as he whispered, "It seems we still have a chance." What? Shanqing Luo was surprised. There's something down here. Yang Kai gently stamped the ground. Just now, he had secretly released his divine sense to see if there was anything nearby that he could use, but he didn't expect to suddenly discover that there were many life auras underground. Moreover, these life auras were densely packed and there were many of them, many of which were extremely rich in vitality. Looking around, sure enough, this place was somewhat different from other places. All around them was a dense forest, but within a radius of 1,000 feet, there wasn't a single blade of grass. It was a standard circular area. There was definitely something strange down here. Although they didn't know what was down there, they could only take the risk. At the very least, they had to drag a few people down with them. Do it. Gui Yuanming saw Yang Kai and Shanqing Luo whispering to each other and knew that they must be discussing an escape plan, so he didn't dare delay. With a roar, he fiercely activated his Yuan Qi and attacked with a killing move. Seeing that he had already made his move, the others naturally didn't hesitate. Buy me 10 breaths of time. Yang Kai roared, quickly activating the star mark that he hadn't used in a long time. What are you doing? Shanqing Luo cried out in alarm. Without hesitation, she hurriedly shook the silver bracelet on her wrist. The bracelet turned into a silver light and flew out. At the same time, a pink cloth fan suddenly appeared in her hand, on which there were many exquisite patterns of men and women. These men and women were completely naked. They posed in all kinds of positions and did their best to make love. These patterns were vivid and lifelike, embroidered vividly. Shanqing Luo Yuanqi was poured in. As her hands trembled, the men and women on the patterns seemed to come alive, and they continued to work with all their might. There were even faintly discernible murmurs and groans. A ring of dense light rippled out and enveloped everyone. Shanqing Luo stood in the middle with a charming smile on her face. Her graceful and exquisite figure was displayed. Her soft breasts were perky and straight, and her plump buttocks were high up. Her delicate body swayed with the wind, forming an irresistible charm. A seductive aura spread out and enveloped the entire area. Everyone present, regardless of whether they were men or women, whether they were from Qiu Yimeng's side or the ash-gray cloud evil land side, all looked slightly startled. The gazes of those with slightly lower strengths were even dumbfounded, and they'd completely fallen into boundlessly charming and gentle spring. Their gazes were dazed while their expressions were dull, and they were unable to extricate themselves. Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman both let out a soft groan at the same time, their legs softening as they fell to their knees. An enchanting blush appeared on their cheeks. The men and women on the cloth fan seemed to have become living creatures at this moment, fiercely drilling into everyone's minds, clearly displaying their pleasure and beauty in front of everyone's eyes. Qiu Yimeng and Luo Xiaoman, who were still young and inexperienced girls, when they saw such a ferocious and cruel scene, how could they bear it? Gui Yuanming was shocked, and while urging his Yuan Qi to resist the attack of the silver bracelet, he quickly called out, "Be careful, it's the Qing Luo fan." The Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters also paled, each of them blushing furiously as they retreated, trying to resist the boundless charm that had invaded their minds. They obviously knew the power of this artifact. This was an artifact passed down from Shanqing Luo's lineage, and her own name was derived from this artifact. With this Qing Luo fan, the power of the dreamscape she displayed was greatly increased. Seeing everyone retreat, Shanqing Luo laughed again and again, her giggling like a demon's voice, causing everyone's mind to sway. "Cheap slut." Gui Yuanming cursed, his face as red as a monkey's but, struggling to resist, gritting his teeth as he shouted, "Let's see how long you can last. When your Yuan Qi collapses, I'll definitely strip you naked and play with you in front of everyone here." Shanqing Luo's expression became cold, and as she sent out a series of hand seals, the silver bracelet's attack became even faster. Starlight suddenly emerged, as if a star field had descended from the blue sky. Light flashed from the back of Yang Kai's hand, and as he raised his hand, a blurred star mark appeared. A fierce yuan qi fluctuation spread out, and even the Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters didn't dare underestimate it. Guiyuan Ming and the others were all shocked as they looked towards Yang Kai, only to see him raise his right hand full of stars and create a star field. Shanqing Luo's beautiful eyes flashed a strange light as she looked at Yang Kai in amazement, as if she hadn't expected him to have such a fierce killing move. If this move was used, no Immortal Ascension Boundary Master present would be able to withstand it. While everyone was still in shock, Yang Kai's right hand slowly and strangely smashed into the ground. Kong. The ground shook violently, and Guiyuan Ming and the others couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They were really afraid that Yang Kai would use this move on them. Kacha. A cracking sound spread out, and everyone looked down, only to see that with Yang Kai's fist as the center, countless cracks had suddenly appeared, spreading out in all directions at an extremely fast speed. Guiyuan Ming frowned, faintly feeling that something was wrong. Even if the power of that move was great, it shouldn't have produced such an effect. Hurriedly releasing his divine sense to investigate, the next moment his expression changed greatly. Not good, the ground is empty, and, before he could finish speaking, a loud crashing sound rang out, and the ground within 1,000 meters suddenly collapsed, causing everyone to involuntarily fall down. Yang Kai laughed, "Let's go." While using his divine sense to investigate, Yang Kai had already noticed that the people below had been alerted, so if he didn't leave now, it would be too late. Reaching out and grabbing Shanqing Luo's waist, the latter gave him a disdainful look but didn't resist, the two of them quickly flying away. How could Guiyuan Ming and the others allow them to escape? Immediately, they flew up as well, but before they could use their killing moves, a series of puffing sounds suddenly rang out from below. It seemed like something had been spat out. A blood-curdling scream was heard. It was Yuan Shi's voice. Guiyuan Ming turned pale with fright. He hurriedly looked down and saw that there were countless huge spiders below. There were also spider eggs of different colors. Yuan Shi was wrapped in a spider and was being dragged down by a spider the size of a calf. This spider was extremely tough. Even an Immortal Ascension Boundary Second Stage Master like Yuan Shi was unable to break free. Pu piu piu. One after another, white objects were spat out from the spiders' mouths, and as they flew through the air, they suddenly transformed into giant tentacles that blotted out the sky, making it impossible to dodge. After 2 breaths of time, most of the people had been wrapped up and fell to the ground, only a few of them were still flying through the air. But it was still too late. Even Yang Kai and Shanqing Luo had been bound by a few of these giant tentacles and were slowly falling down. What the hell is this? Yang Kai's complexion changed greatly, while Yuan Qi madly slashed out with the Azura sword. The Azura sword was a heaven-grade artifact, so its sharpness was not ordinary. Even if these spiders were ordinary Immortal Ascension Boundary Masters, they wouldn't be able to break free, but under the Azura sword, they were still torn apart like silk. It's them. Shanqing Luo looked down and couldn't help exclaiming, "So it was here." What? Yang Kai asked suspiciously. "What I'm looking for is down there." Shanqing Luo's eyes flashed with a hint of joy. "What you're looking for are spiders." Yang Kai was stunned, suddenly remembering that Shanqing Luo had said her special constitution was called the Poison Widow. Wasn't the Poison Widow a spider? Oh no, these spiders are poisonous. Shanqing Luo seemed to remember something, her beautiful face suddenly turning pale as she warned. If she had been an Immortal Ascension Boundary 9th Stage Master, she wouldn't have been afraid of these spiders, but now that her strength had plummeted, there was no way she could resist the invasion of the poison. By the time she realized the situation was bad, it was already too late. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Yang Kai didn't know whether to laugh or cry, also feeling that something was wrong. His whole body felt weak, unable to summon any strength, and his consciousness was rapidly fading. This is bad. Not only was he unable to escape, but he was also trapped inside. Although before he acted, Yang Kai already knew that the thing down below wasn't easy to deal with, he hadn't expected to provoke so many spiders. These 8-legged spiders, each larger than a calf, were clearly 6th-order monster beasts. There were as many as 20 to 30 such monster beasts down below. But if he hadn't done so, he and Shanqing Luo wouldn't have been able to escape the pursuit of Gui Yuanming and the others. Now that he had trapped them, the situation wasn't too bad. Thinking so, Yang Kai's consciousness gradually blurred. Before he completely lost consciousness, Yang Kai pushed his palms together and sent out a ray of light towards a nearby spider. With a slight smile on his face, he and Shanqing Luo fell to the ground, both of them hugging each other. The spider seemed to be stunned for a moment before slowly crawling forward, spitting out a mass of spiders from its mouth, wrapping them up and dragging them away. After an unknown amount of time, Yang Kai faintly woke up. His body was still weak, and he couldn't even move. Layers and layers of spiders wrapped around him tightly, binding him tightly. Through the light from outside and the blurry image, Yang Kai saw many spider egg-like existences, densely packed together. At first glance, they looked familiar. Thinking about it carefully, weren't they the same as the silkworm cocoons that Shanqing Luo had made when she was breaking through a month ago? Many spider eggs had traces of wriggling. Yang Kai slightly released his divine sense and immediately sensed that many powerful people had woken up and were thinking of ways to break out. But with the spider poison in their bodies, how could they get rid of it? Rhythmic bursts of hot air came from his chest, and a faint fragrance lingered at the tip of his nose. Yang Kai looked down and saw a head of soft black hair. Shanqing Luo was snuggled up in his arms, deeply asleep. Their bodies were closely pressed together, and his hand was still on her waist. Feeling that soft and delicate body and the amazing elasticity of her chest, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel a little restless. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, martial world, and tales of demons and gods.